Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. If it's your first time joining, welcome. If you are a previous subscriber or you're coming from a previous video on my channel, welcome back. In today's video, we will be continuing on with the Missouri Star Quilt Company Calico Cats quilt pattern. If you have not seen the first video, please go to that video because that will give you all your fabric requirements and your cutting instructions for all your fabrics. I have learned as you progress through the pattern, it does give you some little variations where you can cut additional fabric to switch things up a little bit. So I try to tell you about those as we're going along. I would highly recommend that you go to Missouri Star Quilt Company and purchase the pattern. I am not sponsored by them in any way. I want to make that very clear. But I have gotten permission from them to be able to use the pattern. You are allowed to use patterns, any of their patterns in a video. And but I advise you to seek permission also, just to be safe. I was given permission to use this pattern, so I had somebody question that on my Facebook group, and they private messaged me in my group and asked me why I was using the pattern and going so far into detail with this pattern. And just to cover that I have gotten permission. I emailed, and I also went through the customer service through Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I did get permission to use the pattern. So, okay. Now that we got that covered, we are going to go ahead and move on. We are getting very, very close to being finished with this quilt. We're going to continue on with step 7. In some of the previous videos, some of the steps are combined into one video. That way we did not have so many videos due to that there are so many steps in this video and it being time consuming. So today we're going to continue on. We have, in the last video, we went over step 5 and we did step 6. Step 5 was adding the, let me show you. Okay. Step 5 was adding the 2 additional blocks to the rest of the cat blocks. And then step 6 was adding the flying geese to the blocks. And there are 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 blocks with the left-facing cats that the flying geese point to the left. There are 4 blocks with the right-facing cats where the flying geese point to the right. Then you have your 2 the solid or the darker background fabric cats where we added the bottom blocks to those as well. Since I'm using my background fabric, and again, since my fabrics are pink and green, I used pink for my background on this one and then green for my background on this one. And then, okay, so that is it for the blocks at this time. So we are going to set these aside. And today we're going to be cutting some strips. You really want to pay attention to the length of your strips on this one. And you are going to be cutting some long strips, so you will need a longer ruler. This one is 6 by 24 inches, so we will be using that one today. We will be taking some of the leftover 5-inch squares and we're going to be cutting those down to use for cornerstones, like little cornerstones in your borders. So we're going to go ahead and progress with that, or do that right now. Okay, so to start, to start your stashing, you're going to take 3 5-inch squares, and I have those here, and you're going to cut them in half, and then cut those rectangles in half again. So from each square, you will get 4 2.5-inch squares. It does have a note here that if you can use more squares for added variety if you like. And that is what I have done. So I have taken some of my leftover squares. When I make a quilt, I always tend to overcut portions, because if I do make a mistake, I have those pieces ready. And since most of my fabric was done by yardage, I was able to do that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to, let me get my other little ruler. We are going to cut on the side. So 2.5. This is a 5-inch charm square that I cut all my squares from yardage. So you're going to cut that into a rectangle, and then I'm going to stack those and hopefully we can get them accurate. Okay, and then we are going to cut those into 2.5-inch pieces. So you'll get 4 2.5-inch squares from each one. And next one. Make sure that's correct. And I really want the variety in my squares. And that is just in case where the blocks, if it has a pattern that is similar or a fabric that is similar in that part, I can switch it with something else. So I don't want to have, if possible, any 2 of the fabrics right next to each other. So like for this one, if you have your strip, I would have like this one here and then a different one over here. I don't want to have a green and a pink. And that's just so I have a little bit of variety. Okay, I hope that made sense. Let me put these back aside. And I am really hoping that something that I will be needing for the final quilting of this quilt. I ordered something off of eBay, and it is said to be here by Friday. And at this point, I have not gotten any shipping updates. I do track everything. But right now it says that my shipping label has been created, but I ordered this item on Friday. Today is Tuesday, and I might have ordered the item on Saturday. Okay, something really happened odd with this one. I don't know, what did I just do? Did I cut that 3 1/4? That's 2 1/2, but why isn't this one Okay, so I need to get an additional block because somehow I cut this one a 1/4 inch too short. So I'm going to grab another block, and do I have another pink like that? Let's see. I am just going to use I'm going to trim this one down to the 2.5. I don't know what I did, but I actually made this one 2 3/4. No, look at that. Okay, so that side's 2.5, but this side's okay. That is why I usually try to cut when I'm not talking so I don't make mistakes. Okay, so those ones are good, and I'm going to cut these two and to have some variety with these as well. Two and a half, okay. There we go. Okay, so now I have enough variety of my squares. Next step you're going to do is, let me move these all aside. Now you're going to take your strips, and it says you are going to, from 2.5 inch background strips that you set aside earlier, you should have set aside 10 strips for the sashing and 6 of the remaining strips aside for inner border. So I just kept all mine together. Being that they're all the same, I just left them together. There was no point in separating them. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to make sure that these are all lined up okay. You're going to take, and we have a school bus going by out front, so it may be loud. Okay, that wasn't too bad. Okay, so from the 2.5 inch background strips set aside earlier, you're going to cut a total of 16 2.5 by 14 inch strips, or 2.5 by 14 inch rectangles from 6 of the strips. Okay, so I am going to have to do it this way because of my room here. I'm going to stand up for cutting these, and I'm going to cut my selvages off first. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this portion off camera, and I will be right back. Okay, so I have my 2.5 by 14 inch rectangles cut, and I had said that you're going to need 16 of those. So we have those here. These were the pieces left over from those strips, and I went to start cutting my 2.5 by 9.5 inch rectangles from 4 of the strips. Okay, so what you're going to do is that you get most of those, and with these portions that you have left over from your 14 inch pieces, you're going to make sure that you cut the remainder of your 15 2.5 by 9.5 inch pieces. And one thing that you'll make sure that you have enough of your strips left is because the reason why I'm making sure you it doesn't make this straight in the directions. Okay, that's what my brain's trying to grasp. So just as long as you set 6 of your strips aside, because I almost started to cut into those, but you will need 6 of those for your inner border, and that is on step 9. So make sure before you start cutting any of the sashing, set 6 of them aside for your inner border. And I had failed to do that because, like I told you in the beginning, that I just had all my border and sashing pieces all put together. So I almost made the mistake, and hopefully you won't do that as well. So I'm going to okay, so yeah, so to recap, a total of 16 2.5 by 14 inch rectangles, and cut a total of 15 2.5 by 9.5 rectangles from 4 of the strips. And then to get the remainder of the 15 you need, cut it from the leftover from the 14 inch strips. So I'm going to kind of press these because they have so I have, let me check here how many I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have 12, so 13, 14, and 15. And then I'm going to just put the remainder of these aside for scrap. And I'm really glad that I read ahead in the directions, and that's again, I've said it a few times, make sure you thoroughly read all your directions, so you know not to make any little mistakes like I'm almost just made. I would have had to cut more strips if I cut into the pieces for the outer border. Okay. So now I'm just going to set these up here. I'm going to stack these so I can get the last 3 pieces of my 2.5 by 9.5 inch pieces. Make sure these are stacked nicely. This is actually my first time ever using one of the Missouri Star Quilt Company patterns, and it's really good. It's definitely really good, like they tell you. Read through to make sure you understand all your directions. And I'm guilty of not doing that. Okay, so 9.5 by 2.5. I hope my big head's not in the way. Okay, so there we go. Now we have all of our pieces, and what you're going to do now, let me set my ruler aside. What you're going to do now is we are going to sew a 2.5 inch square to your 9.5 inch background. Let me put those ones aside as well. Okay, so, and you're going to make 12 pieces like that. So sew a 2.5. So we're going to set our 14s aside. So 2.5 by 9.5. So these are our 9.5. And I'm going to lay out my pieces here. And I'm just going to go a pink, a green. Let's do it this way. Pink, green, pink, green, pink, green, pink, green. And if I decide to use these, I'll use those. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm just going to work on my, you're going to make 12 So 2.5 inch by 9.5 inch background rectangle, to a 2.5 inch print square. Press towards the rectangle. You're going to make 12. So I'm going to just take, let's just do 2, 4, come on, fingers, 6, 8, 10, and 12. Okay, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So I'm going to set the remainder of those aside. I have extra. Okay, and okay, so I am going to take one of my 2.5 inch rectangles. We'll start with our, and I do not have my machine on yet, so let me turn my machine on. And I'm a little slow today. It was a really windy, nasty day yesterday. So today I'm kind of getting caught up with everything around the house, the laundry and things like that. Okay, so I've got my machine set. I'm going to set my stitch that I need. And okay, so I'm going to just take from each stack one at a time, and then I will start sewing those, and let me show you what that's going to look like. Whoops. I've tried to, in all of the quilt for the stripe, I've tried to keep all of my stripe pieces straight up and down. I guess it doesn't really matter though, since it is hence a calico. Okay. And I'm going to strip, I'm going to just keep it on the machine, and I'm going to just strip piece as I go along. So once I get all those pieces sewn together, I will be right back. Okay, so I have all of my 2.5 inch squares sewn to the 2.5 by 9.5 inch rectangles, and I am just pressing it so the seam is to the rectangle side. And one more here to go. And so you're going to want your seam to go towards the rectangle piece. Okay, so I have them all laying out to how I think I want to assemble them. Our next step is going to be, you're going to sew 4 units and 1 additional 2.5 by 9.5 inch background rectangle together as shown. Then you're going to again press towards the rectangles, and you're going to make 3 horizontal sashings. And that is what that's going to look like. So you're going to take 4 pieces and then 1 additional of the 9.5 by 2.5 inch rectangle and sew it. And I will do one of those, and I will be right back. Okay, so I have all my strips put together, and I know it looks like a mess here. So what you're now going to do is you are going to, again, make sure your seams are pressed. And it says to press them towards the rectangle portions. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to tell you about our next steps of the video, or of the quilt actually. We are getting very, very close to being done. Our next video is going to be step 8, And that is where you're going to lay out your blocks, and you're going to arrange them in the order that it tells you in the chart, or if you want to do them random, it'll tell you that on page 8 here, they have diagrams on how to lay out your blocks. So it'll be like a left cat, a right cat, a left cat, right cat. So it'll tell you how to do that. Today's video, we're just going to leave with these sashing pieces, and it'll be nice and short because the next video may be longer, a lot longer. Okay, so this is our sashing piece. So we have our little cornerstones in it, and you can see where the last portion of the 9.5 inch rectangle, so you have your 4 pieces that you put together. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then you're going to make sure that you sew the, so you're going to have, there we go, let's get it all in a shot. You're going to have each end be white. Okay, so I'm going to just fold these and set them aside so they stay nice and neat. I did have to take 2 pieces and take them off of the rectangles because my strips had, a couple of them had too many of the same little piece repeated in them. So I took those apart and used a different 2.5 inch square, and that way, let me show you. I have them laid out where it's pink, green, and green, and all of them, I didn't want them to be laying out all the same, so each row will be different. And again, as I said earlier in the video, I'm hoping I get the item that I ordered delivered on Friday, because it's really, really going to depend on the finishing of this quilt. And I just can't believe how fast this quilt has gone together. Of course, you're seeing the videos. I usually post every 4 days. And so you're seeing a section of video every 4 days, so it's kind of drawn out for you guys. But the way I've been filming is I've been just continuing, and every other day kind of I've been working on the quilt. And so yeah, this is really close to being almost completely finished. And I'm really hoping that you guys liked these videos. I know some of them have been kind of wishy-washy and start and stop, and I'm hoping to get better with editing, so in the future videos will be better and flow a little bit better, not so much start and stop. Okay, so I have all those pressed, and they look really cute, so you can see where each one is different. Even though this one does have a pink bow and a green bow, it's still green, pink, and all of the blocks will be like that. So yeah, if you guys have any questions at this point, please comment down below. And yeah, if you have any questions, please comment down below. If you have any suggestions on future projects, as always, please comment down below. And that is it for today. Definitely the next video is going to be pretty big. We're going to start arranging our blocks, and yeah, so it's going to be pretty fun. So we will see you all soon, and we will talk to you later. Bye bye.